Oftentimes, I find myself planning about playing a video game rather than actually playing it. Whether it's mapping out my next Elden Ring build, or scrolling through Nexus mods to prompt another Skyrim playthrough, I can't help but want to set goals for myself before diving back into a massive game. The thought of another 100 hours in whatever fictional world, no matter how much I love it, is daunting. But it's made a little easier if I know what gear I'm looking for, or what skills to level up. Despite all this meticulous planning, my desktop is still littered with notes and screenshots of builds and plans for various games. Goals that, while measurably attainable, I know I'll never reach. And one thing I've struggled to accept is that maybe it's not an issue with the overwhelming reality of so many games in so little time, but rather it's an issue with me. For all my planning, I've struggled with actually following through for quite some time. To put it in the most understated way possible, the pandemic has been difficult. As someone who struggles with tenuous and sometimes precarious mental health issues, the last thing I want to do is spend an extended period of time isolated, left to deal with my own thoughts. Being trapped in my room and feeling anxious about the state of the world sapped a lot of enjoyment from my life. Getting out of bed and attending university courses that were entirely remote was miserable, and more times than I'd like to admit, I found myself skipping sessions and behind in coursework. More than ever before in my life, I turned to video games as a way to feel whole again. I think playing games around the clock is what kept me grounded during this entire ordeal. I spent way too many nights in 2020 losing sleep so I could stay up and lie very unconvincingly to my friends in Among Us. Fall Guys brought me back to childhood memories of watching shows like MXC and Wipeout. I investigated haunted houses and let my friends fall victim to restless spirits and phasmophobia. I finally got around to crossing a few major titles off my backlog, like the first Dark Souls and Resident Evil 4. Even if I couldn't see my friends in person or succeed in school the way I wanted to, it felt good to at least feel like I was doing something in the realm of gaming. But something I wish I had played a lot more of during this time, as it's recently helped me accept a lot of things about myself, is Stardew Valley. While I've owned it for years, I've invested more time into Stardew Valley, both in co-op and single player, in the previous few months than I did in any time prior. Pelican Town is irresistibly charming. The characters hold so much more depth than first impressions would have you think. The tunes are cheery and infectious. The options for role-playing are abundant. The game has an overall vibe of being cozy and comforting. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's start at the beginning. Introductions are everything, and perhaps it's for sheer simplicity that I really love Stardew Valley's opening sequence. Despite given the option to skip the intro cutscene, I've never opted to do so on any of my dozen or so farms. Taking inspiration from classic life sim franchises like Animal Crossing and, most notably, Harvest Moon, the player character is gifted an envelope by their grandfather and instructed to open it only when they feel their spirit being crushed by the weight of modern life. Sometime later, we see them working to the bone, quite literally as one of their co-workers is a skeleton in a drab cubicle, and it's all becoming too draining. Opening the envelope as instructed by their grandfather, they're given a deed to a farm where they can start a new life. Stop me if any of this sounds familiar to you. Maybe you worked a job you didn't really care for, but at least it paid the bills. Or you studied something in school because it felt safe, even if it wasn't the thing you were most passionate about. You wake up, fulfill your primary responsibilities, waste time for a bit, then go to bed, only to do it all over again tomorrow. You'll start writing your book or work on some art over the weekend, you tell yourself. Another creative project to make the mundane more bearable. But you never do. By the time the weekend rolls around, you're too tired to do anything other than laze around. Or worse yet, you still have responsibilities to take care of. Being a student or parent, those things don't end when the calendar finally lurches to Friday night. I know I felt that way. It's the rat race, and quite frankly, it sucks. Stardew Valley's introduction is short and to the point. It's human and relatable. While I love the opening portions of games like Dark Souls or Dead Space, I can't relate to the stench of decay in a once great kingdom or the sound of aliens crawling through vents in a derelict spaceship. But I know what it's like to feel tired and worn down. I know what it's like to want a chance to start anew and focus on the pastimes and people that truly make me happy. The farm is offering that chance, and so I take it. Things are simple enough early on. The farm's a total mess, but it doesn't take long to clear out a patch of land big enough to plant some early crops. I spend the rest of the day gathering resources and meeting the townspeople. On day 2, I'm given a fishing rod, and day 5 opens up the mines for exploration. Soon enough, the town has welcomed me into their fold. I'm a socialite, a novice fisherman, and a daring spelunker. I'm also unrelenting when it comes to egg hunts. Player choice is liberating in Stardew Valley. You can prioritize friendships as easily as you can grind your skills and min-max your methods of producing income. And all methods of playing are encouraged. Unlike working in the offices of Joja, the player character is finally doing things because they want to rather than having to. And while sometimes harvesting hardwood in the secret woods or delving deeper into the mines for rarer ores can be a bit of a mindless grind, it's a choice instead of a chore. Soon enough, and with the requisite effort, I'll have a farm that looks unrecognizable from how it all started. Progression systems are everywhere in Stardew Valley and integral to the core gameplay loops. You mine for ores to upgrade your tools so that you can harvest even rarer materials to further upgrade said tools. You fish to level up your fishing skill and be granted the opportunity to catch better quality fish. You harvest and sell crops so that you can, in turn, buy more expensive seeds to flip for profit upon harvest. Growth becomes exponential. Success becomes snowball-y. Much like how humble beginnings in Agar.io and Katamari Damacy give way to towering, seemingly ceaseless expansions. And for the first time in a long time, it's made me feel like I was capable of making progress. I've felt stuck and stagnated for a long time, even before the pandemic. It's hard not to compare your own life and milestones with others when all over social media you see people who are barely adults achieving global superstardom, or content creators living out what you'd idealize as your dream job. These past few months especially have left me feeling like I'm lagging behind the pack. I'm watching friends who are a year or two younger than me graduate and land incredible jobs in their career fields. And while I'm immensely proud of their achievements and excited to see them land these opportunities, I can't help but feel a little envious while I'm left filling out job application after job application. Stardew Valley gives me the inverse effect of that. The farm I've inherited is a clean slate, a chance to start anew. Any mistakes or shortcomings up until this point are irrelevant. It doesn't matter what soul-sucking job I had or how uneventful my life was before arriving here. It dares me to dream, and then dream even bigger than that. It dares me to see a field of overgrown weeds, tree stumps, and rocks, and envision what could lay beyond that. It dares me to make the most of each moment. While it can be time-consuming, it reinforces that if I put in the work, I can become the success story I've always hoped I could be. In all the farms I've ever made, I find myself trending towards the production of artisan goods, not only to sell for profit, but as gifts for Leah and Mary Lewis and Linus and everyone else. In doing so, I'm able to share my successes with my friends in game, much like I wish I could with my friends in real life. Somewhere between the broken down greenhouse and the ever-present shipping bin, I realized I couldn't just wish my ideal life into existence. I'd have to work for it in unglamorous and often mundane ways. Go on YouTube and search for Stardew Valley farm tours. You'll find video after video of people showcasing endgame farms that are as self-sufficient as they are beautiful to look at. What those videos don't show are the hours of collecting hardwood or watering crops it takes to get there. All too often, I find myself living through my dreams. I want to write about video games and make videos that I'd watch, and hell, maybe even make my own game one day. But in these last few years, what have I done to actually achieve any of that? Since middle school, I've labeled myself a writer, as it's what I'm most passionate about. But all too often, I don't actually write. I find excuses not to, chalking it up to a lack of time or inspiration, when the reality is I'm scared of failing, of not being as good as I want to be. Therein lies the problem. I spend so much time in the act of wanting rather than doing, planning without achieving. I'd like to imagine I'm not the only one who struggles with this, the feeling of being stuck, knowing what you want from life but unclear of how to reach that or even where to begin. As I've gotten older, I've started to look back at all the times I've spent dreaming and wonder if I could have been living instead. If there's anything that tending to Grandpa's farm has helped me realize, it's that becoming the version of me I want most isn't a destination. It's a journey. Looking back over the course of the pandemic, it turns out I actually have been able to make some positive, albeit minor, strides. I've lost over 20 pounds and counting. I turned to the one thing that seemingly everyone else did when they were holding on to their last shred of sanity during quarantine: bread making. I learned how to make bagels and pizza, and even pizza bagels, which aren't even that good. It's not a good topping for bagels, and it's a subpar pizza experience. I mean, what's even the point? Anyways, if you're watching this video, then that means I've started writing again, something that has felt so alien to me during this entire time. I'm going to be playing Stardew Valley for a long, long time to come. I still have aspirations that I am dead set on seeing through on my current save file. I want to finally go further than year 2, fully clean up and decorate every corner of the farm, and befriend more NPCs than I ever have before. I recently downloaded the Stardew Valley Expanded and Ridgeside Village mods, so that last part will take quite a while to come to fruition. But for once, that doesn't sound so daunting. I think I'm finally starting to enjoy the dopamine rush my little monkey brain gets whenever I complete whatever small task I've set for myself. Whereas Dark Souls taught me not to give up, no matter how insurmountable an obstacle might seem. And The Last of Us Part 2 taught me that the path towards redemption and forgiveness begins with one's own self. Stardew Valley might be one of the most self-actualizing games I've ever played. It's reinforced to me the value of hard work, that consistent, productive routines and habits beget long-term success. It's helped me see that I'm capable, not only in Pelican Town, but outside of it too. And more so than anything, it's taught me to live, not just survive. And that starts with this video. Previous attempts at starting a YouTube channel consisted of me recording Let's Plays, monotoning through a poorly written script, or cutting out highlights from my Twitch streams, always culminating in me cringing at my delivery and bad jokes. But this time, I want to try being something less forced. I want to try making content that's more related to the discussions and games that are most dear to me. I want to try being myself. With that being said, hey, thanks for watching, and I hope you liked this intro to my channel.